What's up, viewers? It's me, Jimmy Cannon from the Black Trident Academy. In today's video, we're going to talk about my helmet overview. And what this is, I briefly want to make this video for you guys to let you guys know what I have on my helmet and kind of why, just a general overview, and we can get into setup in maybe another video. Because I often get a lot of questions, hey, what is this? Why do you have that? You know, what if this breaks? You know, the contingency type stuff, because that's very important to me. So first and foremost, when we're talking about helmets, whether you're, first responders, military, law enforcement, hell, even a construction worker, there's always probably some type of, set standards and, things that you have to have on your helmet. So that's good. That's always a great starting point, but always validate that. So if there's some extra things you want to add on to it, or validate why that thing is in the position it is, but always validate with stress or austere environments. Once again, I always tell guys, always set up your kit or pack for the job that you have, not the one that you want. So it's important to ask yourself, what is my job and what does my job require me to have? Now, for me, I'm a very contingency based type person because I work with a variety of type clients, but most of it is in the tactical realm. Being in the tactical realm, anytime we start, fighting in the dark or doing anything when there's no light, things get really stressful, and it's always nice to have a backup to a backup. A way to identify yourself, and a way to identify a person, and a way to just make you overall just comfortable, all right, when you're wearing it for long periods of time. So let's jump into it. This is the Ops Core ballistic helmet. On the underside, I have it mixed with actually a Team Wendy harness itself. The guts is still an Ops Core. It's really nice. I do like that because the pads are easy to remove. It's easy to clean. We don't often clean these things, but when you're wearing beanies and you're wearing these things for a long period of time, they do get dirty. So it's important to take care of your stuff. I do like the Team Wendy, so I was like, hey, I just wanted to combine the two because I feel like I get more articulation with my head when I'm looking up, or just overall when I'm wearing the helmet for a long period of time. It's easier to actuate this dial just to make little micro adjustments to make me more comfortable. And it also integrates well when I have the Ops Core amps, pressing against the side of my head. I get less pressure points with this as opposed to the actual Ops Core itself because of the plastic piece that bend on the inside. It would always just find that one spot to hit me and just make me kind of miserable when I'm wearing it for long periods of time. While we're on the underside, it's always important when you're running your cables to make sure it's out of the way, you're essentially your head. You don't want that cable resting right on top of your head because it can create a pressure point over a period of time. I always try to find the little slots to run that cable to keep it off my head. Moving on, now let's talk about all the lights and strobes and all that stuff on the helmet. So let's start here. This is a white light right now, as you can see. I would actually probably would like to, I've been meaning to do this, swap this out with a vampire head, because I feel with the vampire head, because it has that IR setting, it just gives you an extra tool for the toolbox to navigate your way through, different types of problems, okay? This is on the S&S Precision Max mount. I do like this. It's made out of alloy. You can fix it into one position. It has generally a good contour to the helmet. I keep it on my left side. I am a right-handed shooter, so for whatever, I'm not rocking a pistol light or the pistol light goes down, I can always take my support hand, come right up to the head, and just maintain eyes on target with good light situational awareness. Another mount that you could use as well, I brought this out, the Unity Knuckle. Been wanting to switch over to this for quite some time because I do like the theory of just rotating it up to provide an ambient light under IR, especially for really dark rooms, or if you're under canopy, something like that. I knew a lot of guys that used to do that, and it worked out pretty well. But pretty happy with this setup, but I would like to upgrade to a vampire head. Additionally, 100 Concepts is making a 3D print. It's basically getting back into the noise and light discipline that we tend to kind of gravitate away from, and that's basically to cover up the reflection of these lenses, all right? Because everybody's using lasers and all this stuff, and it just takes one swipe when you're running through to get that reflection to give you up. Staying with the light concept, on top here I got a Unity Spark. It's right top, it's IR, and it's the perfect, I guess you'd say, light ambiance. It has this omnidirectional light, and it's not that bright. And it creates just amount of extra light that's needed in super dark scenarios if the situation would allow it to provide you that extra light to give those NVGs just a little bit of energy to, you know, produce a better picture for you. To the back, I got the Mana strobe. It's nice because I always leave it in the IR position, so if I do flick it on, it's always IR. You rotate this up, now you have it visible. So let's say if you're working with like civilians, or you want to take this off and, you know, mark something that's very like special at the time or whatever. So it's not just a strobe for the actual for the helmet itself, but you can also take it off and use it for you know, a scenario that you're dealing with. Same thing with the Spark. To the back as well, with the battery pack, there's also a switch down here. It gives you another IR strobe, which is really nice. It's kind of, it kind of does look like overkill a bit, but you know, I'm a super contingency based, because I've had things where things just fail one after another. Murphy's just biting you in the butt time after time, and it's best to always have, you know, a backup to a backup, especially if you're doing like, you know, some super high threat operation. With the battery pack to the rear, you know, there's all these like talks and debates about, you know, the battery being a counterweight. So you really have to look at that, because 4 AA's, I mean, to me, is really not much of a counterweight. But utilizing this this battery pack retention system from Faro Concepts, there's plenty of room to add in additional weights if you're really trying to get, you know, a better counterbalance, especially if you're rocking sequads up front. That's pretty good. I always rock the reflective call sign to the rear. It's just best to see who's in front of you, or to let people know behind me it's me under low light situations. And yeah, so for the light stuff, that's pretty much it. I did want to talk about this light that I have on the boom mic. This is just nothing more than a keychain light, and you can utilize this for, you know, reading maps, so you're just not over blinding everybody. I tend to wrap everything with camo form. I like it, just reinforces these boom mic cables, because they tend to break like right where it joins up to the microphone itself, and it helps reinforce that. Speaking about the hearing protection itself, I'm running the OpsCore amps. Really nice. You know, it's got good compression, especially when you put it against your head for the overpressure, especially like doing a lot of heavy breaching or really exceptional loud noises. They are kind of a pain in the butt every once in a while, like articulating them, especially if you don't have the cables ran correctly. You can pinch the cables, so something to be mindful of that when you're setting those up initially. One feature of the Peltor 3Ms that I did like is you could pull it out just enough to hear like the ambient noises around you, and then push it to your head when it's time to go to business. All right. Moving on, hey, helmet covers, no helmet cover. Me, I gravitated away from the helmet cover, once again, for the type of job I was doing, just to run some this cat tape up top, just so it can stick to the helmet, because this was always the contingency for me, for especially breaching, keep the charge on the door. Another thing you can use, I mean, just having tape in general, it's just a quick fix to maybe a simple problem that could be chaotic at the time, but just a simple piece of tape can fix it. That's really nice to have. Nods retention system. Moving forward, this is the Irregular Defense MRS version 1. I wonder if there's going to be a version 2. It'd be interesting. I really like this system, because the actual ones that OpsCore came with didn't really like it too much, because that little wire that bends around the actual bungee cord, it would sometimes pop, and the bungee gets worn after a while. But these have this like locking gate, not a locking gate, but it does have a wire gate. It doesn't lock, but it does make sure that these things are clipped on. And you can connect it to your nods in 2 different ways. So you have this band, all right? I don't know if you guys can see that. This band that comes forward, it kind of takes away from having to put the rubber band over top the nods to really pin it back. And then you got this safety wire. So essentially these two are connected together. So if this was to fail, or these were to fall off, I could show you just real quick. You know, it's secured by the cable itself, so everything stays connected. Okay, I've also added an extra bungee up top here. It just helps me with trying to get these things up in a hurry. With the NVGs itself, we could talk about in another video why it's set up, but for the most part, I run these nods generally in the down position, and I'm just looking underneath of them. If there's something, you know, that requires a lot of searching or to bring these up, you know, it's really nice just to hit it and bring it up. There's some other variants out there, because when you bring these nods up and it brings it away from like that center of gravity, it really strains your neck after a while. I know Nocturne Systems, they have this new bridge that's out there. really excited to try to get my hands on one of those, because how they fold up, it just, man, it just increases just a variety of options how you could utilize these things. I mean, let's just talk about it real quick. But I got these rubber bands on the quads as well, because you can get a fail point here after a while, and it just takes out all the wobble in these, especially when you're working in a high stress environment. I would say just overall, that's the helmet in a nutshell. And I would probably talk about this real quick, because this is very near and dear. This is like one of my first slings that I had. It's a Blue Force gear rifle sling, actually, with an integrated pad. And I actually use this to run underneath my chin and to make it more comfortable. And it is probably the most comfortable thing I've ever done. This one allows me to talk, especially, when you're trying to convey, your point from back, from one person to another, to let them know like what's going on. And it just, over a period of time, it's just generally more comfortable to wear and easy to take off and let it dangle. Look like an old school football player. But for the most part, that's my helmet in a nutshell. It's very, contingency based. And I would also, remind yourself when you're setting your helmet up, just always be cognizant of the job that you actually have, what you're actually required to have on your helmet, and use that as a good starting point. Hey, I hope you guys got something out of this video, and stay tuned. We got more videos coming. So take care, have a good day, and stay lethal.